800-445-3160.
A CRN original.
Attention, you are about to hear the captivating voice of an icon in the movie industry. You have heard him and seen him in performances in over 140 films. He's met and influenced many world leaders, and now he's about to tell you how to unite the America he loves.
That job's filled.
Unique.
Brilliant. And unpredictable. Robert Davi is a Renaissance man who writes, directs, sings, and does it all with excellence.
Yes, okay, we're all very impressed, but let's get on with it now.
Robert Davi believes he should use his voice to both repay and help unite America, the America that made his dreams come true.
No more Mr. Nice Guy.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is The Robert Davi Show. Good day.
Good day.
Mike Gary here, sitting in for Robert Davi. Robert Davi out on assignment, joined by John Merchant. John, how are you? Hold on one second. Let's get that mic going.
Absolutely.
Oh, maybe he's not a number 4. We'll come back to you in a second, John. Also, I'm joined by Nick Davi.
What's up, ladies and gentlemen?
Nick Davi. Back from the wars, back from filming.
Yep. That's what it was. Okay.
So we're going to talk about that soon, too. We're going to talk about some of the lighter stuff at the end of the show, but we're happy to be here. Robert Davi out on assignment. I'm Mike Gary, sitting in CRN Digital Talk Radio. This is The Robert Davi Show. Thank you for joining us.
Oh, yeah.
Check us out on Facebook, facebook.com/CRN Talk or CRNTalk.com. So, fellas, I wanted to start this real fast. So just let's get kind of through the vegetables before we hit the meat. Right now, we are seeing latest reporting from the U.S. Capitol regarding this $3.6 trillion budget resolution package, a budget that will probably be passed through reconciliation. But wait, fellas, Mr. Manchin, we have two holdouts here, two Democrat holdouts, moderate Democrats. Full disclosure, I would consider myself a moderate Democrat. Kristen Sinema and Joe Manchin, the most powerful man in Washington right now. Joe Manchin, a Democratic senator out of West Virginia, probably the last Democrat we're going to see elected statewide in West Virginia. He's saying no. 3.5 trillion? Not so much. Too much. Says that the only amount that he would sign off on is a $1.5 trillion package. 40% what the president and the other Democrats want. He also suggested a debate about this $1.5 trillion package begin no earlier than October 1st. So very interesting. We're going to see what not only the administration says to this, but also on the House side, what Pelosi says about that. So we're going to look to that moving forward. This next story, I think, is being a little bit underreported, and I think it might be underreported for two different reasons. I think it might be underreported because it's actually too insane to actually believe. This is a story that was first circulated by both Yahoo News and the Daily Beast had additional reporting on this. And I'll read the headline here. CIA officials under President Trump discussed assassinating Julian Assange.
Yikes.
Mike Pompeo, specifically as Secretary of State, also CIA director under Trump, Mike Pompeo and others requested quote-unquote options for killing Julian Assange following WikiLeaks' publication of a CIA hacking tool, according to reports. Julian Assange, people might know, very interesting gentleman. I believe he's Australian by birth. He was instrumental in WikiLeaks. WikiLeaks was a online dissemination tool where people could anonymously upload documents, and they didn't care where those documents came from, whether or not they were stolen, as many of these documents were, and they published them. State Department cables, diplomatic cables from nations all around the world. And Mr. Assange, he was also charged with sexual assault. He was, I believe, in Ecuador for a while, kind of hiding out there. But according to reporting, senior CIA officials during the Trump administration discussed abducting and even assassinating WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange. These discussions occurred allegedly in 2017 when the fugitive Australian activist was entering his 5th year sheltering in the Ecuadorian embassy. Mike Pompeo and top officials were furious about WikiLeaks' publication of Vault 7, which was a set of CIA hacking tools. And Pompeo and the CIA leadership were completely detached from reality because they were so embarrassed about Vault 7 and they were seeing blood. So there's 3 prominent leakers that I kind of want to discuss. There's Julian Assange, there's Chelsea Manning, and there's Edward Snowden. Chelsea Manning, a veteran, was a security officer in the United States Army, and she released a lot of damning documents as well as a really, really graphic and damning video concerning the killing of civilians and journalists in Iraq from an AH-64 Apache attack helicopter's gun cam. Chelsea Manning was then subsequently charged under the Military Uniform Code of Justice and sentenced and incarcerated. Edward Snowden was an NSA contractor. He revealed warrantless wiretap programs and mass surveillance and data collection programs that the NSA was conducting under the PRISM program and others. And he was so scared that the CIA was going to come after him that he took off and went to Russia.
Yeah.
He's chilling in Russia.
Yep.
That takes a lot.
A great movie about him that they made too.
That's a good movie as well. I think Oliver Stone directed that, didn't he?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have Assange here. And so I think there's 3 separate things here, 3 separate individuals that I think need to be discussed in 3 separate ways. Chelsea Manning, even though I think what she did was brave, she was wearing the uniform. She had the patch of the United States flag on her arm. That comes with different responsibilities.
Mm-hmm.
Edward Snowden, I have a much less critical view of Edward Snowden as compared to the other 2. Edward Snowden, he revealed laws that were being broken by the United States government. The mass collection of data, gentlemen. Every email, all that metadata, they knew who you're calling when you're calling. Or you, not necessarily sometimes the content of the call, but you can extrapolate a lot of information just by that metadata, the date, time, place, duration of calls and emails.
Mm-hmm.
I thought what he did was brave. Assange, on the other hand, Assange seems like an egomaniac to me.
Yeah. 100%.
He seems like a tool.
Yeah. Modern day tool to the max.
Because of if reporting is to be believed from multiple intelligence figures inside and outside the government, the majority of the information, the materials that WikiLeaks was publishing under Assange was coming directly from the GRU, which is a successor of the Russian intelligence agency, the KGB. For example, when they released all these diplomatic cables, one could argue that maybe this is important. Maybe, that the public deserves to see what the international community is thinking about certain foreign issues, especially wars in the Middle East. And then during the campaign, 2020, they released John Podesta's and the DNC's hacked emails. Does that have anything to do with war crimes? Have anything to do with human rights abuses? Anything to do with any sort of altruistic aspect whatsoever other than hamstringing the Hillary Clinton campaign?
I don't think so.
Look, folks, I think Hillary Clinton was a flawed candidate to begin with.
I feel the same.
Didn't think that, that she didn't garner the kind of enthusiasm that would have, put her over the top. And people were looking for some sort of change, and that change brought Donald Trump, and we all saw what happened. But Mr. Assange has kind of, and has become a cause celeb, along with Miss Manning and Mr. Snowden, especially by journalist Glenn Greenwald. Glenn Greenwald, you might know, is one of the founding journalists of The Intercept, a very far left publication out of Britain. It should be noted that Mr. Greenwald then acrimoniously split with The Guardian and is now a frequent appearance on Tucker Carlson, which is quite interesting. But what do you guys think about this real fast? Do you think there's a distinction? Do you think that classified information that's leaked to the public and those leakers, are those leakers actual patriots?
I I think it depends on the context,
Yeah.
right? I feel as though that, yes, they can be if it is beneficial to the people. Now, if it's something that's going to cause mass hysteria, that's something different. But if it's like, hey, there's this thing that's happening, here are these classified documents that are confirming that this thing is happening, that the people should be aware of, so then they can change whatever is happening that is affecting the American people directly. Absolutely. I feel as though, yeah.
Nick?
I definitely think it makes them patriots. I mean, then again, depending on what it is they're releasing, like unless it's like secret things that
could maybe put U.S. troops or other or anybody in danger.
Yeah.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah, but if it's exposing things like that, then I'm all for it. Honestly, like, you know.
And also, I mean, there isn't, great acts of courage often are coupled with great acts of sacrifice. For example, Chelsea Manning. I mean, Chelsea Manning's doing did years.
Yeah.
I mean, Edward Snowden's now in exile.
Yeah.
Probably can't return to the United States without the fear of charges for the rest of his life.
They'll probably
Or
put
maybe
him in
something
prison.
worse. Yeah.
And he had to. They seized all his money.
Yeah.
Mr. Assange, was he in exile because he was facing sexual assault indictment in the UK, or because he was afraid that he's going to get whacked by the CIA? Now, this reporting, maybe it seems like he was afraid of being whacked by the CIA.
And I feel as though he deserves the same type of, go through the system. You know what I mean? Get charged.
That's what I think makes patriotism. Davi, we'll talk about more of this after the break.
I'm Al Simon, 91 years young. I created Balance 7 20 years ago. At 67, I went to see the doctor for the first time in my life and found that I had medical problems. He told me that was normal for my age. I don't believe God intended us to be sick and old. I decided to find something to bring my health back. For 10 years, I studied pH and how important it is to the human system. Balance 7 gave me back what I lost by getting older. I no longer get out of bed with a joint discomfort. Balance 7 can do for you what it has done for me and many others. In 3 days' time, you'll feel more energy, less joint discomfort, and clarity of thinking. No doctor or hospital can do what Balance 7 can do for you. Balance 7 is the key to unlocking the healthy immune system. Bring your body back to balance. Order now. Receive free shipping with the code word AL. Go to balance7.com. That's balance7.com. Order now and get your free shipping and a free gift with your order. Go to balance7.com. Use the code word AL.
Oh, according to research, 82% of people remember radio ads. That means that 82% of you listening right now will remember that this is an ad for ZipRecruiter. If you're hiring, 82% of you will recall that ZipRecruiter makes hiring faster and easier. And 82% of you will note that you can try ZipRecruiter for free today. But you have to go to ZipRecruiter.com/find. 82% of you will keep in mind that ZipRecruiter's technology finds qualified people for your job and actively invites them to apply.
Scott, is that you? Who are you talking to?
82% of you will also know that I, live with my mom. But the most important thing to note is that ZipRecruiter works. In fact, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Will you be part of the 82% who remember where you can try ZipRecruiter for free? It's ZipRecruiter.com/find. Again, that exclusive link is ZipRecruiter.com/find. That's ZipRecruiter.com/find.
For the getaway of your dreams, come to Hawaii's Playground, Ka'anapali Beach Resort, on the fun side of Maui, where the world comes to play. Find your spot on Ka'anapali Beach with 3 miles of white sand, 12 resort properties, 2 golf courses, and 2 shopping centers. Enjoy the playground of Hawaii's ancient royalty. Ka'anapali Beach Resort is Hawaii's original master planned destination resort and home of the Hawaii Food and Wine Festival. With views of 2 neighboring islands, you can breathe in the land's natural beauty from your favorite resort or golf fairway. Come experience Kaanapali's own special brand of Hawaiian hospitality with world-class dining, relaxing resorts, water sports, and activities of every kind. For romantic, family, and great friend getaways, discover the options of Kaanapali Beach Resort, where the world comes to play. Plan your getaway today. Visit KaanapaliResort.com. That's KAANAPALI Resort.com.
Robert Davi.
You know, I'm the one delivering the message, not receiving it.
Just to wrap things up here about this Assange. This story, I really recommend people go and read about this story because it really seems like this is almost too much to believe. That, you know, is even as wacky as we might think that the Trump administration was, would they really go through with this? I don't think so. I mean, come on, folks. You really think that the CIA, they're going to send the CIA to whack Julian Assange?
I think that would just be too obvious.
But what if they don't make it obvious? And let me be, you know, I'll play the devil's advocate here. What if it's one of those breaking news, Julian Assange
mysteriously
passes
dies,
away.
Falls out of fourth-story bathroom window.
Hangs himself,
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Slips on banana peel and breaks neck.
Right.
I just feel at this point it's too obvious no matter what happens. Like, if that does happen, we're still going to know.
But, I mean,
like,
some nation-states don't care. Russia.
People, yeah.
Russia whacks people all the time. Navalny, all of them. They're like, oh, this guy's now got some weird poison toad frog in his sleeping bag, and next thing you know, he winds up dead.
Yeah.
But we don't do that here in the United States, as far as we know.
as far as we know.
It just gets brushed
But the
under
United
rug
States,
to
the
me.
United States has actively, you know, engaged in assassination ploys. We killed Yamamoto during World War II, the commander-in-chief of the Japanese Navy. We shot down his plane. That was a targeted assassination. The drone strikes that have decimated Al Qaeda and the Taliban and ISIS over these past 20 years, those are targeted assassinations. So what's different from us dropping a Hellfire missile in the northern Pashtun province on, you know, Abdul al-Maliki al-Baghdadi? What's the difference between that and the CIA whacking Assange because he revealed secret hacking tools that can cripple our government?
Right. Or even the, you know, conspiracy theories behind, you know, political leaders, or even, you know, people like Martin Luther King. They say that he was assassinated by the government.
RFK.
Leaders in the Black Panther Party.
Yep.
You know,
H.Rap Brown.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, wasn't he killed by some? Well, that's what we know of. That he was killed by someone random.
You might have some more information about that we want to discuss off the air.
But I mean, and I think it's simple for the government to cover it up if they, you know, clearly control media. And it's like, yeah, we can. And I mean, again, this is a slippery slope.
Yeah,
we're just kind of talking here, but
this feeds this whole discussion, this attitude, this kind of conspiratorial attitude feeds a lot to what's going on in culture right now.
Yeah.
Be it COVID denialism.
Yeah.
Be it anti-vax movements.
Yeah.
That kind of conspiratorial mind that I don't think is uniquely American. I used to think it was uniquely American, but it is actually worldwide.
Yeah.
That the government. I think this is actually one of the lasting legacies of Watergate. Because in Watergate, for the first time, the public saw, when they watched those televised public hearings on PBS of that Watergate hearing, they heard a lot of dirty stuff that the administration and the government was doing.
Mm-hmm.
And this was just political stuff. This was just, and then when the United States populace heard the Nixon tapes, the White House tapes, I mean, abject, terrible racism aside that you'd heard on those slurs being uttered by Nixon and his cronies, but also the means that he would go to protect his political power, extrajudicial means. And so I think ever since then, people don't necessarily trust the government. And I think that's, a lot of people say that's a good thing. I don't,
but there's also a lot of people that still do, because they rely on the government to provide or do certain things, and they believe everything that the government says.
But I want to believe the government.
We want to.
I'm proud to be an American.
But I don't think I will. It's just gotten to a point to where, like, we were better off when the mafia was on the streets.
That might be true in Las Vegas, but I don't know if it's nationwide.
Maybe not nationwide, but like You know what I'm saying? The government, it's every politician that walks through those doors nowadays, every single one, it doesn't matter who it is, they're all lying.
That's why I think it's so important and so incumbent for our elected officials to be honest brokers of the truth. That we can rely on what they say is true, is fact.
There's just so much going on in the world behind closed doors that we still don't have any idea of, that I think it just makes it almost impossible for somebody to be the truth broker. Unfortunately.
If that is true, that's a sad state of affairs.
Unfortunately, yeah. I mean, because I'm proud to be American too, but the government, I just don't think they're very trustworthy.
So when we have, I better not go there.
Well, I think it's also, we have these truth brokers, such as the Julian Assange and Snowden, right? That come out and they're saying, hey, here's the truth. Here are documents that are proving what's actually real. It all gets covered up. They get wiped. You know what I mean? They get extradited. They go through this whole process that we're experiencing. Also, the truth can be covered up for, I believe, the sole purpose of persuading the general public, the American people.
But how do we know that those people that you just mentioned, those leakers, I'm thinking of Assange specifically in the WikiLeaks, vis-a-vis the releasing of the Podesta and DNC emails, how do we know that they're doing that for altruistic reasons?
I mean, and there's no way to tell whether they're not. But here's where I see it being justified is when you put an absolute truth or you put the facts on the table, then it gives the people an opportunity to take and leave what they want, right? So if we say, if I put this bottle on the table, it's like, here, this is just a bottle. There it is. This is what it is. Now you look at it and you tell me if it's half empty or half full.
But wouldn't now, especially now, if you pose that question to people, their answer would be based more on their worldview than actually the evidence you put in front of them?
Absolutely. And I mean, and granted, again, slippery slope, and we have to deal with it from there. But then I would much rather have that and go through those debates of here's my truth, this is your truth, how do we compromise, versus having this puppeteer, dangling around this little silly dummy and saying, hey, this is what's real, and we're all, we're the dummies. You know what I'm saying?
But there has to be some fundamental truths. There has to be some binaries, a yes or no question. For example, do seatbelts save lives?
No.
Sometimes there's actually been studies where seatbelts,
and this is my point, fellas. This is my point because come on, fellas.
No, I'm joking, but no, they do.
It's empirically proven that seatbelts save lives.
Absolutely do. They absolutely do.
But here's the thing: we're never gonna get a politician like that because the second we do, JFK, he was killed. Anybody that's going to be speaking the truth like that, something's going to happen. Something's going to happen whether they die, whatever, assassinated, you know what I mean?
Or politically destroyed. Or ran out of business. For some reason.
That's what's going to happen to anybody who's going to
photos of him with a girl come forward or something like that.
And I think that's part of what it is. You demonize their character to
the credibility.
Destroy their credibility.
And there's already, I think now there's such a credibility gap about politicians in general that it's almost, if you do see a photo of them with as the old adage goes, a dead girl or a live boy, it doesn't even matter anymore.
Right.
I mean, we've seen, politicians shake that off, no problem. And so I don't know. I mean, where is our John Adams? Where is our Thomas Jefferson? But fellas, we don't know what they're doing in their personal lives.
Very true.
They've been lionized.
Yeah.
Davi, be right back.
Do you want to fly somewhere, anywhere in the world? Smart travelers call myflightsearch.com for the best deals on flight tickets. Going to Manila, Bangkok, London, how about Singapore? Call myflightsearch.com for the lowest flight tickets available. What about a local vacation? Let's say you want to fly to Vegas, Orlando, Miami, Los Angeles, or Denver. Pick up the phone and call myflightsearch.com right now. We have exclusive deals that you can't find anywhere else. The only way you can get these low airline prices is by calling us. We have so many low prices available, we can't possibly tell them to you right here and now. If you're flying somewhere anytime in the next 6 months and you want the lowest airline ticket prices anywhere, you owe it to yourself to save a ton of money. So pick up your cell phone and call myflightsearch.com right now.
Call 800-445-3166. 800-445-3166. That's 800-445-3166. Call now. 800-445-3166.
What are you going to do with your old car? You can try selling it, you could junk it, or you could donate it to Heritage for the Blind. Your car will be towed away for free, and your donation is tax deductible. Just call 1-800-785-9618. Heritage for the Blind accepts cars, vans, trucks, and boats. It doesn't matter if your vehicle runs or not. It will be towed away for free, and you'll be supporting those that need help. Heritage for the Blind is a nonprofit organization that helps the visually impaired live fuller lives. Call right now to donate your car, and as a special thank you for calling, you'll receive a free 3-day vacation voucher to many exciting locations. Call Heritage for the Blind right now, 1-800-785-9618. Donating is easy, and your vehicle is towed away for free. Plus, you'll get a free vacation voucher. Call now, 1-800-785-9618. That's 1-800-785-9618.
If you have ever thought about remodeling your bathroom but were worried it would take too long or cost too much, then stop worrying. Right now, Jacuzzi Bath Remodel has designed a collection of high-quality, custom products and perfected the one-day remodeling experience so you could enjoy your new bathroom faster than ever before. It's a worry-free bath remodel from the most trusted name brand in the business, Jacuzzi. A Jacuzzi bath system fits in your existing tub space. It's a no-mess installation with an amazing style selection, factory-certified installers, and a limited lifetime warranty. Just dial pound 250 on your mobile device right now and say the keyword update for 50% off installations with no interest and no payments for 12 months. Replace that old bathtub with a walk-in shower for a safer bathing experience. If you've lived in your home for over 15 years, it's time to remodel your bathroom. For a virtual or in-home appointment, dial pound 250 now and say the keyword update. That's pound 250 and say the keyword update.
If Ernest Hemingway was alive today, would he say this to you?
Shakespeare, Mark Twain, Edgar Allan Poe, all great writers. And after reading your book, I simply must add you to the list.
Wait, you don't have a book yet. So make a free call to Page Publishing. Their expert staff can help you turn your book idea into a real book, a masterpiece that could someday make the bestseller list in hard copy and digitally all across the world. Page Publishing can help you completely take your idea for a book, write it, and publish it. So if you want to join the ranks of some of the most famous authors in the world, call now for a free information kit. Turn your book idea into publishing gold. Make a free call right now to Page Publishing.
800-378-3212. 800-378-3212. 800-378-3212. That's 800-378-3212.
The Robert Davi Show.
I'm Dwayne Robinson, LAPD. I'm in charge here.
Not anymore.
Robert Davi is in charge. I'm just filling in for him while he's out on assignment.
Not anymore.
More details about that.
Is it your show still, Dad?
Not anymore. It will always be Robert Davi's show. He's here with us in spirit. One of the things I love about Robert Davi, I mean, besides his immense talent behind this microphone and also in front of the camera, is that he's a pleasure to work with, a very sweet man, very sensitive man, a very bright and brilliant man. Mm-hmm. But the one thing I want to thank him the most for is introducing me to the Panzerotti. I had no idea what a Panzerotti is. Panzerotti, it's a calzone, folks. But instead of being baked, it's deep fried.
Wow.
It's, oh my God. When you get it fresh, though, there is nothing better when it's like, you have to be there.
It was one of the best bites of food I've ever had.
It's crispy there, and the cheese
and
is
soft
melted,
and melty, and the sauce is the perfect temperature, and it's not too much sauce. It doesn't make a mess. Self-contained.
It's a
I can't stop thinking about it.
I think about it every day of my life. And I've been going there since I was
I'm
little.
obsessed with it. I think they put crack cocaine in those Panzerottis.
I wouldn't be shocked. That wouldn't surprise me at all.
You know, they do equate like salt and sugar as being the equivalent to like a crack cocaine.
Well, speaking of crack cocaine.
Great segue.
Interesting story here, folks, about this is coming from the House of Representatives. For the first time,
the ones we trust,
the ones we were just talking about, the House of Representatives has passed a bill that will end the sentencing disparity between crack cocaine and powder cocaine.
Yikes.
At the federal level. I mean, this kind of came out of the 80s, of the crack epidemic. I mean, you could one viewpoint would be that it was a moral panic. Another point of view would be that it was actually maybe necessary. But federal sentencing disparity between crack and powder cocaine is 18-1. That means for every 1 year you get for powder cocaine possession sale, 18 years for crack cocaine. Quote, for years, we have known the harsh drug sentencing disparities between crack and powder cocaine have created a racially disparate impact on black communities. This is from Representative Bobby Scott, a Virginia Democrat and co-sponsor of the bill. The Bipartisan Equal Act is the next step on the long road towards eliminating this unfair sentencing disparity. Crack cocaine is made from powder cocaine. The thing about crack cocaine, folks, is that's highly addictive, smokable, and also you take 1 kilo of cocaine, you can make 2.2 kilos of crack. So for the dealer, it's more efficient economically.
Yeah.
I've always thought that, and it should be known that the majority of all drug users in this country are white by consumption per capita.
It's mostly rich people,
especially powder cocaine.
Quite honest with you, every single like party I've been to where it's like,
be careful, statute of limitations.
Yeah.
We are anti-illegal drug on this show. Illegal drugs.
No. I don't take part in anything like that. I'm just saying what I've seen.
I mean, cocaine, when it first came to the culture, it was the only people that used cocaine in the beginning, in the late 70s, 80s, were rich people, were airline pilots, lawyers,
it's people that
real
can
estate people
afford it.
That can afford it.
Yeah.
And then once some young entrepreneur found a way to make cocaine economically viable to sell at a price that can be sold in disparate communities, that's when it exploded. Let me ask you this, and I want first, John. Were these sentencing disparities, was it racist?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Because you look at where crack was, and we're talking inner cities in every major market. New York, Los Angeles, Chicago, right? And the way that it exploded and the way that it affected those people, you know what I mean? Like black people, brown, people of color, the way that it affected them specifically was much more damaging, not only to the community and to their, the entire ecosystem. It clearly just damaged the families. It put a lot of people in prison, a lot of people in prison. And there was no accountability for how it got there. You know what I mean? Like the people that put it there. Eazy-E, the lead, rest in peace, the lead singer or lead rapper of NWA brought that up. He said, we don't have the planes. Like, how are the drugs and guns getting into our communities? So there was no accountability for those that were responsible for importing it into the inner cities of America.
I mean, every once in a while you'd see, Kingpin brought over, you know.
Yeah.
Very hard to do. I mean, should be noted that, most of the majority of drugs that come into this country, come from our southern borders.
Yeah.
And have forever.
Right.
I mean, first it was rum during Prohibition.
Yeah.
Grass, cocaine.
That's how Al Capone got rich.
Yeah. Now we're seeing fentanyl and methamphetamine being the major things brought over the border right now.
Right.
But, I mean, we can talk about border politics and about border security. I think that's a valid thing to talk about. But we wouldn't have these tons and tons of illegal narcotics coming over this border if there wasn't the appetite in this country itself. So I think we have to look at ourselves too.
Absolutely.
And as we've seen, incarceration is not the answer to stop a drug epidemic.
Right.
Militarizing police forces is not the answer.
No. Not at all.
Doesn't make
Is it
much
treatment?
sense to me.
Is it treatment?
Yeah. Honestly, that's probably the only thing you can do because the seller is obviously going to, well, sometimes they say never get high on your own supply, right?
No, not in my experience. So you don't see that that much.
As we've seen in the movies.
You don't see that much.
But I guarantee you it's the opposite. I guarantee you that's all they do.
Yeah.
They're addicts.
Yeah.
It's a disease, and it's not being handled the right way.
But the thing is, fellas, and I think this, you can tie this to the homeless crisis itself, is that, I mean, we've all known addicts in our lives, and that they won't clean up until they want to clean up. You can't tell somebody who doesn't want to kick drugs to kick drugs. It just doesn't work that way.
Not until they hit rock bottom.
And so is it about prevention? They tried it with Just Say No. That was my generation, fellas. I think yours too, John.
Mine too.
That was put up at my middle schools and everything. Just say no.
Just say no. Nancy Reagan. That's how easy it is. Just say no.
Yeah.
Which I think was a completely disingenuous way to market this problem because, I mean, there's, drugs, alcohol, smoking. I mean, everybody thought it was cool. That's why people start smoking cigarettes. They think it's cool.
And I think that's where, to validate the point of it pinpointing black communities, is that when it was there, it's, just say no. When it started to hit white America or middle America, then all of a sudden it was like, this is an epidemic. This is a crisis.
That's when you start seeing this is your brain on drugs PSAs.
Exactly. And this is, hey, now we need to do something about this. We need to rehabilitate. We need to get these drugs off the street. Whereas before it was like, just say no. It's on you.
And Robert might want to hit me with his car for this, but this is institutional racism.
It really is.
Institutional racism, some people don't necessarily think they believe in it. I personally do. And I think it's manifested in stuff like this.
Absolutely.
Where, just like you said, John, you didn't see those PSAs with Rachel Lee Cook until it came into the white community. You didn't see anybody talk about the HIV/AIDS crisis until Ryan White.
Right.
You didn't see any of that. And so there is two Americas, I think.
Right.
And we need to bridge that divide.
And it goes back to the differences between, this disparity between the, imprisonment of those that get caught with cocaine versus those with crack. Cocaine is more popular in white suburban areas. Crack is in the black inner city communities.
Yeah, and even, yeah.
It ain't that tricky, folks.
It kind of is, though. I mean, what about the personal responsibility of the people within those communities themselves?
Very true.
I mean, I think that should be talked about. I think that, folks, I say it all the time, dialectical thinking, two things can be true at the same time. Institutional racism and also a lot of other factors. Davi, be right back.
It's totally normal to be constipated with belly pain, straining, and bloating again and again.
No way.
Maybe it's occasional constipation.
Maybe it's not.
You could have a chronic condition called irritable bowel syndrome with constipation, or IBS-C. Linzess, or linaclotide, is a prescription that treats IBS-C in adults. Linzess works differently than laxatives to help relieve belly pain and let you have more frequent and complete bowel movements. Individual results may vary. Do not give to children less than 6, and it should not be given to children 6 to less than 18. It may harm them. Do not take Linzess if you have a bowel blockage. Get immediate help if you develop unusual or severe stomach pain, especially with bloody or black stools. The most common side effect is diarrhea, sometimes severe. If it's severe, stop taking Linzess and call your doctor right away. Other side effects include gas, stomach area pain, and swelling. Maybe it's not occasional constipation. Learn more at linzess.com or call 1-800-LINZESS. You may be able to talk to a doctor online. Visit linzess.com, sponsored by Allergan and Ironwood.
You order a glass of your favorite Cabernet, fresh asparagus, hollandaise on the side, a filet, medium rare. You unfurl your napkin with a flair, close your eyes, and prepare to listen. Ah, there it is. The sweet music you long to hear. The sizzle. The sizzle of a Ruth's Chris steak.
The most magnificent corn-fed prime beef, broiled to perfection at 1800 degrees. Some call it a sizzle. We call it an anthem.
As the waiter approaches, you think, is this one mine or that one?
Ruth's Chris Steakhouse. Like Ruth always said, life's too short to eat anywhere else.
Make a reservation online at ruthschris.com or by calling 800-544-0808.
Hi, my name is Lily. My mom and dad used to fight about money all the time. Then one day, I heard them talking about this guy, some uncle I never knew, called Uncle Sam. Well, they say this Uncle Sam guy wanted them to pay him like $1 gazillion, and they didn't have $1 gazillion. So they called this company they heard on the radio called the Tax Doctor. And the Tax Doctor worked with Uncle Sam's people. I think they're called the IRS. And they were able to work it out so my mom and dad didn't have to pay Uncle Sam very much money at all. So now mom and dad are happy, and I'm happy too. Thanks, Tax Doctor.
If you owe $10,000 or more to the IRS or state, call now and pay less. 800-391-8713. 800-391-8713. That's 800-391-8713.
Robert Davi.
Another $80 million write-off.
I guess it's time to start cutting overhead.
All right, we ate our meat, we ate our potatoes, we made our vegetables, Brussels sprouts, some asparagus. Now it's time for dessert. I like to use this last segment in the show to talk about something fun and see where that kind of leads us. Riff off this, and then might lead us down a path that maybe can lend itself to something a little bit more poignant, a little bit more thought-provoking. So this coming weekend, something is occurring that I've been looking forward to for months. I got a big plan for this, gentlemen. The Many Saints of Newark, which is a Sopranos prequel. Sopranos, of course, was a famous television series, HBO television series, starting in 1999. That was about the mafia that took the culture by storm. Those who watched it live, it was a phenomenon then. There's been a resurgence. People of Nick's age are now binge watching it and really falling in love with the show. It's got a huge following around the world. And David Chase, the writer and creator of The Sopranos, he wrote this prequel. It's been shot. It's been in the can, I think, for almost 2.5 years. I think they shot it in 2017, and it was locked, mixed, and mastered in 2018. It's been on the shelf because of COVID. And so it will be released simultaneously in theaters and on HBO Max. I love The Sopranos, fellas. I loved it. You know, I didn't really start watching it when it was live. I probably started watching it when it was live and by the 4th season. So I kind of watched the first 3 seasons on DVD and then started watching it live. We had a weekly thing where all my buddies would come over and we'd get a bunch of food, a bunch of wine, cocktails, and whatnot. And we'd watch it, and it was a great time. And it was a great communal experience because this is before streaming, fellas, before like social media, before a lot of things where our people's attentions were diverted in a million different directions. This was seminal. Sunday night, you knew everybody in your life was watching The Sopranos, and come Monday, you got a lot to talk about. And so, The Many Saints of Newark, a prequel, it's a period piece set in the late '60s. Is being released this weekend, and man, I got the day off that day. I got a conference call early in the day, but I'll get that knocked out. I'm gonna go to Columbo's, a great sponsor of this show. I'm gonna get a bunch of Italian food. I'm gonna get some fettuccine bolognese. I'm gonna get some probably maybe get some sausage and peppers.
Oh, you're making me starving right now.
Maybe some sausage and peppers, and probably some linguine and clams, white. Garlic bread, and because it's Friday, of course, some clam chowder. I'm going to bring all that back to the pad. I'm going to fire up the old HBO Max. I'm going to get this in. But I was thinking, though, just the other day, John and I were talking about, missing white women syndrome. And, how the culture, really, really will sensationalize, young, beautiful white women who's gone missing. So I was thinking to myself, what's the difference in how we sensationalize, a pretty young white woman who's gone missing, or, anything else in the culture? Black gangsters, African-American gangsters on Snowfall.
Mm-hmm.
But we have The Sopranos, and then I'll also name Goodfellas, Casino, my favorite.
Yeah.
Once Upon a Time in America.
The Godfather.
The Godfather.
Yeah.
Part 1 and 2 and 3, not as bad as people say.
Yeah, that's annoying that people trash on that. But it's so good.
Zaza.
Yeah. You know what I mean?
Third one, The Godfather Saga, which was the first two Godfathers cut together linearly, that Coppola put out in the early 80s so he can pay off some bills.
Do we throw the King of New York in there?
Oh, Frank White.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
That's a good one. But, we sensationalize this Italian-American experience. We equate it with violence.
Mm-hmm.
We equate it with graft, with extortion, with crime.
Grand larceny.
And one of the things, if you listen to a lot of interviews with David Chase, the creator of The Sopranos, and you can actually see this in the show too, in some of its themes, is that, Sopranos got a lot of guff from like the Anti-Italian Defamation League. A lot of Italian-American groups condemned The Sopranos because they thought it sensationalized parts of Italian-American culture that they found disagreeable, that they didn't want, shown or celebrated. They want to celebrate the Cuomos of the world who've, Italian-Americans that have gone on to doing great things.
Yeah.
But instead, we celebrate Tony Soprano, who's a murderer. And we have here a 62% blooded Italian gentleman, Italian-American. Sicilian from the, wow. Mr. Nick Davi, I mean, what do you think about that? As an Italian-American, are you upset? Are you offended when you see these visages, these representations of Italian-Americans as criminals?
It really depends, because they're just movies and TV shows, but when it turns over to real life and people start to look at Italians and they just look at them like, oh, that's a gangster, that's a criminal right there, or stuff like that, it's obviously gonna bother me a little bit because Italians are actually some of the most sensitive human beings. They love music, they love food, they love the air you breathe. They love everything.
It's passion.
Yeah.
They're very passionate people.
Yeah, extremely passionate. But honestly, it doesn't bother me that much. But if you notice, there's a lot of Italians that are considered gangsters when really they were doing all these things to help the country a little bit more, to help the working man a little bit more. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point.
Even though it is breaking the law, but they just wanted to help.
Well, also, I mean, going back to the Italian-American immigrant perspective, it's very similar to the Jewish American immigrant perspective, very similar to the Slavic American immigrant perspective, coming post-industrial revolution, early teens, 1920s, a lot of migration. And these immigrant communities came here and they needed a community in South. And oftentimes they spoke little to no English. They needed help. And oftentimes the help that they sought was from some members of that community that would draw outside the lines.
Yeah.
I mean, what did Ray Liotta say about the organization in Goodfellas? That it was a place where he could go to when he couldn't go to the cops.
Yeah.
And that's not just about illegality. I mean, let's say you come from Italy and you're persecuted by the fascist government in Italy. You have a distrust towards governmental institutions.
Mm-hmm.
You're not doing anything illegal. You just are a little bit sketched out by that. And so you go to somebody you know who speaks the language, who's gone through the same things that you've gone through, assimilating to this country. And so I think when you look at it from that perspective, and then you see how much of Italian American culture has become ingrained into the broader American culture at large, panzerottis.
Mm-hmm.
That's not an Italian dish. That's an Italian American dish. I looked it up. It comes from like New Jersey.
Yeah.
From some of the feasts and carnivals they'd have in New Jersey, Italian American feasts.
New York and New Jersey.
And so I think a lot of the guff that The Sopranos got, and also, The Godfather and whatnot, I think that criticism might have been valid in one point of time, no longer, because I think they're Italian Americans now. And Italian Americans are part of America.
Mm-hmm.
And because they're part of America, they could be discussed as the broader culture of America. But I'm not Italian American. So I reserve judgment, and I let Italian Americans speak to that. They're the ones with the knowledge and the experience to levy that criticism. I think there's also a difference, because when I was discussing this with a friend the other day, is that, he said about, what about Boys in the Hood? What about Menace to Society? Those were very, very disturbing films, especially Menace to Society. And I'm like, is that exploitative? And then my friend, who's an African-American gentleman, he said, no, not necessarily, because these films weren't played for entertainment. They were played for education, to let people who would have no other way of knowing what's going on in those communities at that time, what's going on.
It's giving them a chance to say, hey, take a look at this,
I think it's, and it's also a fine line, because I believe that it got glorified by certain individuals that grow up in these communities, and instead of backing and saying, hey, this is what's happening over here, we need help, whether it be drugs, gang violence, gentrification, X, Y, and Z, it was like, yeah, this is us. And they personalized it.
We need help.
Right.
This is cool.
This is cool. And so I believe there is like a fine line that is being danced on. But yeah, it's for educational reasons. It's to let people know what's happening.
It's art. It's entertainment.
Yeah.
And you can have critiques about its social value, its social place.
Yeah.
Because as any art entertainment can be subjected to. When you ban it, when you cancel it,
yeah,
you stop that dialogue. You stop that conversation.
Yeah.
And the fruits of that dialogue and that conversation, I think, move this country forward.
Absolutely.
100%. I feel like almost in some ways movies like that unify us a little bit more. And, just to cancel them is just beyond me, because this world is just getting ridiculous, if you ask me, man.
Well, I'm glad they didn't cancel The Many Saints of New York, because I'm stoked. I have a big plan tomorrow. I'm going to gorge myself in Italian food. I'm going to drink wine. It's going to be fantastic. Thank you so much for watching, for listening. See you on Digital Talk Radio, Robert Davi Show, Mike Gary in for Robert Davi. See you guys later. Take care. God bless America.
Are you tired of your favorite talk show sounding like this? What if you can hear your favorite talk shows in crystal clear, high-definition sound?